Hey, good evening, aspiring freight dispatchers. This is your favorite freight dispatch trainer, Antoine West, back at you with another video. And the title of today's live video is More Leads, More Sales, More Drivers, More Revenue, the Freight Dispatcher Growth Formula. So I want to bring business back to a point where those in business think more about leads. Every single business, it does not matter the business. We can be talking about freight dispatching, or we can be talking about trucking. And I'll compare those two here in a minute. But every business is about lead generation. As a business owner, what you're doing, you're building a lead generation machine. So your first priority as a business owner is to bring in more leads, because there's nothing in your business that increasing leads can't solve, because increasing leads is going to lead to more sales, and it's going to lead to more drivers, which lead to more revenue, right? So we got to think about what we want in business. The main objective of any business is to generate revenue, right? So then we have to reverse engineer the plan, and we have to ask ourselves, well, how do I generate revenue in this business, right? So the problem in freight dispatching, so many new freight dispatchers focus on low board access. They focus on a freight dispatch agreement. They focus on how much should I charge. But your main objective, what you should be focusing on more at all times in business, is leads. You focus on leads more than anything else in business, because leads lead to revenue. So this is something, honestly, I can see in every single business. And from my own opinion, this is what I believe it is. Since the advent of social media, more people getting on social media, more business owners. We got to realize, years ago, before social media, you didn't have all these people out here attempting to start businesses, right? The people that were business owners are probably the people that went to school with or studied owning a business, and then they launched a business. And this is probably over a lot of time, right? But now you have people wanting to make money, and it's good because the internet allows us more opportunities to make money. It allows us more access to knowledge, but then at the same time too, it has its disadvantages, right? So I think more now than ever, we have more people wanting to start businesses, and you can just simply get on the internet, get on your cell phone, and start listening to information about that business, right? So we got way more people starting businesses back 20, 30 years ago because of the internet. But the thing is, everyone, from what I see, everyone is trying to start a business the same way, and then they're manifesting the same results, right? So this could be in freight dispatching, trucking, any business. It's the same thing in trucking when it comes to lead generation, right? Owner operators, they're not focused on lead generation. They're focused on what the market's doing, what the average rate is, right? But from what I learned about business, I don't want to focus on anything within the market, right? Because I want to think of where I want my business to go, and I want to implement those ideas, right? So what happens if you think about the market and where the market is, that's what you put on your mind, and you're going to manifest the same results. So the thing I see in owner operator trucking businesses, most owner operators are not concentrating on creating their own market. This is called creating market demand. So in having a trucking business, what you need to focus on is making more connections with more brokers and shippers and people who have high paying loads. Those are leads in a trucking business. In a trucking business, more than anything, in a trucking business, you need to be focused on increasing your leads, increasing the possibilities or the opportunities you have for booking high paying loads. And then you need to put a KPI to that, a key performance indicator. And you need to concentrate on how many opportunities I'm creating per week. And you want those opportunities to be increasing every week, right? So think about trucking business A, and they are creating their own market demand, networking with brokers, growing relationships with brokers. And I say, just like myself, I have brokers all over the country. I know what they eat for lunch, what time they go for lunch. I know them. We know each other, right? And for me, owning a freight dispatching business and being in logistics, it's about growing relationships, right? So I'm saying this is the same thing owner operators need to be doing. But what I'm thinking is owner operators are just booking loads off the load boards, coming in contact with brokers who don't pay a lot of money, and then just thinking about low paying loads and brokers don't pay what they should. But really, you have to grow your brand and meet different brokers, and then the ones who pay high, grow a relationship with them, use your communication skills and lock in with them, right? And then you're going to have those connections, and you're going to be able to reach out to them, hit them up on a phone call or email, or sometimes they're going to reach out to the trucking company with high paying loads because you grew a relationship, right? So you actually have to create market demand, and it's about lead generation. Every relationship you grow is lead generation. And then in the trucking business, what you would need to do is keep increasing the relationships that you have. And by increasing the relationships that you have, you're actually increasing the money, right? And like I said, it's just because of how the internet is and everybody wants to start a business these days. We're not really thinking business. So you want to grow those relationships. It should not matter about the low paying loads. It shouldn't matter about tariffs. It shouldn't matter about what's going on in the market. It should matter how many connections can I make to strengthen up my relationships and increase my leads, right? So that's the same in a trucking business, and it's the same as a freight dispatcher. And if you are an aspiring freight dispatcher, if you plan on starting a freight dispatching company, if you don't know this information, you won't be effective for your owner operators, because you need to realize your owner operators need to increase their relationships and increase their leads. And then you as a freight dispatcher, you are a intermediary for them to be able to increase their leads, because you're going out, you're meeting people, you're meeting brokers, you're meeting shippers, right? So, and the more brokers and shippers you meet, that's money. That is the money. That's how you manifest money, because you have more relationships and you have more opportunities for brokers and shippers. So as a freight dispatcher, you should increase your revenue over time by the brokers and shippers that you know. And that should always be increasing. You should always be meeting an increasing amount of brokers and shippers. So like I said, more leads, more sales calls, more drivers, more revenue. What most freight dispatchers never think about, everybody thinks about like, I want to make money. I want to make revenue in this business. And what I'm speaking about is every single business these days, right? Lead generation. What I teach can apply to any business, right? Because it's just the basic business principles, you know what I'm saying? So to make revenue, you need drivers. Drivers are your customers in a freight dispatching company, and they are the ones paying you money. So to meet drivers and get drivers to sign up for your freight dispatch company, you need to get on sales calls with drivers, right? And to get on sales calls with drivers, you have to increase brand awareness. You have to grow your brand. You have to get more leads. Brand awareness, if you take notes on my videos, make sure you write down brand awareness, because by increasing brand awareness, you increase leads, right? And this is what I'm saying. Business is a mental science, right? I believe in 2025, it's too many emotions. It's too many asking questions about stuff that don't matter. Just go back to basic business principles. So you have to get leads. You have to get people interested in your business. And you do that by increasing brand awareness. And then as you increase brand awareness, you're going to increase the amount of leads coming into your pipeline. And as you increase the amount of leads coming into your pipeline, you're going to get more drivers interested in you and want to get on a sales call with you. So as you increase the leads, you increase the amount of drivers that want to get on a sales call with you. And then as you increase the amount of drivers that want to get on a sales call with you, when you get on the sales call with these drivers, you're going to sign up more drivers. Increasing leads leads to increasing sales calls, leads to increasing driver signups. Increased driver signups leads to increased revenue. And what I'm telling you, this is freight dispatch. And what I just said, this is the most important thing. Nothing else is more important, because everything else that happens in your business happens as a result of everything I just named, right? So instead of thinking about everything else, if you really want to make money, what I would do is just think about that simple process I just talked about, and start coming up with ideas of how I can increase my leads, how I can get an increase in amount of people interested in my business. So this is really coming from the heart. What I'm realizing more and more is a lot of opportunity to make money in this day and age, but people don't have the right mindset. And as we change the mindset, the end result is going to be changed. So honestly, in my opinion, I know how the economy is right now. I know how jobs are right now. But in my opinion, I think there will be a lot of increased wealth manifested in the world once people start changing the mindset, right? And I think what's happened is, since the internet, social media, so many people have just jumped on the internet and jumped on social media that it has took business away from what it really is, right? Business is about lead generation. If you're not thinking about lead generation in your business, then your business is going to fail, guaranteed. And I say that, and I can be confident saying that. I'm not trying to be funny or doubt anybody or anything like that. But if you don't have enough energy on bringing in more leads, because leads lead to revenue. So if you're not bringing in enough revenue, your business is going to fail, right? Business is very simple, but we've overcomplicated it more over the years, right? And then with the invent, like I said, of social media, so many software programs, AI, people are more focused on that than the basics, right? And anytime in life you get off the basics and you start focusing on all the other stuff, it's not going to go right, right? So even when it comes to AI has a lot of capabilities. And then I'll be honest with you guys, my team, anything can be done. The only thing you got to do is voice something and my team can get it done. There's no limits on what we can do with AI, but I don't talk about that much because I don't think AI is going to save anybody, right? I think it's us growing our business skills, growing who we are as people, and putting that into AI. And then I'll even take you a little bit further into the future. In the future, that's what it's going to be. AI is very hyped up right now. It's a lot of hype behind AI, but me as a business owner, I like to develop my mind where I can look 5, 10 years out into the future, right? So in the future, we're going to come back to building the person and putting that into AI. But what people are going to do right now, they're going to go out and buy a lot of AI programs, a lot of software programs, and waste their money because they still don't know how to market and attract leads. If you don't know how to attract leads or basically get customers interested in what you're selling, what's the point of AI? What's the point of a load board? What's the point of a freight dispatch agreement? All that stuff is useless if you can't get people interested in what you're selling. And I got so much passion for this because I got people in my bootcamp program. And what we focus on leads. I'm not even going to hold you. We focus on leads more than anything. And by us focusing on leads, my members in the Freight Dispatcher Bootcamp are getting on more sales calls. They're getting more drivers and they're making more money. They're leaving their full-time jobs. They're working for themselves and they're hiring dispatchers to work for them. Behind the scenes, when I'm not here on social media, which I haven't been that much, I don't believe, because what I'm doing, I'm working with the members of my Freight Dispatcher Bootcamp, and we're getting dispatchers onboarded to dispatch in their business, right? The people in my Dispatcher Bootcamp are actually hiring dispatchers to work for them. And I'm sitting right here and I'm on Zoom with a member of my Freight Dispatcher Bootcamp and the dispatcher that's working with them. and I'm just kind of helping facilitate training, right? So we're actually growing a business. We're growing different departments and hiring people so the members in my free dispatcher bootcamp don't have to do all the work, right? So this is really what building a business is about. So this is why I'm so passionate about lead generation and bringing in leads, because I have members in the boot camp that's leaving their job and being able to be home with their kids and family, making more money than they ever have within 4 weeks because they're focused on lead generation. So that lets me know like the truth. That lets me know by focusing on load board access and all this other stuff, most people are just going to waste time, because think about it, in a business, what's more important than getting an increasing amount of people interested in your business, right? That's the money. That's getting an increasing amount of money coming into your business. People have to remember how to reverse engineer the plan. I think the thing that's messed up in the world today, that most people are just focused on like the paper money. Everybody wants paper money, but people don't think about what's the right ideas I got to match up in my mind to bring that paper money into existence, into my bank account, right? So what I thought about in freight dispatching when I first started my business, because I honestly struggled. I struggled to bring in leads. And that's what most people are going to struggle with in the beginning. They struggle to get leads, to get people interested in what they're selling. Because most people to start these businesses think about load board access and everything else, but they never think about, how do I get people interested in what I'm selling? Basic, right? And I believe a lot of people, because I've been there myself, wanting to go out, get load board access because it sounds exciting, right? You hear all these different things and software programs, and you want to go out and spend your money on that because it seems exciting. But we got to get back to real business. And basically, just because it sounds exciting doesn't mean it's going to make you money, right? So you got to focus on what makes you money. My screen might be a little blurry right now. It looks like it got blurry on me. I'll probably end it here in a minute just because it's blurry and I don't want that quality in my video. I don't know if it's blurry on the other side, but it got blurry on my end. So, but I'm going to be coming live a lot more often. But we need to focus on what starts the cash flow, right? What starts the money to like come into existence. And when I first started my freight dispatch business, what I thought about is, if I want to make a lot of money in this business, I need to just become a very good, successful trucking business owner, right? I need to learn everything it takes to run a successful trucking business. And this thought came after I struggled a while with signing up drivers, with getting leads. So after I struggled a while, I'm like, what's the top thing I can think about to start getting some customers? And that was, well, learn how to run a trucking business. I don't have to have a truck, a trailer. I don't have to have an authority, an MC number. I don't have to have a DOT number to learn how to run a successful trucking business. If I just learn that and then just start teaching that to people, I believe that's where the money's at, right? So I had that idea, and I learned everything about starting a successful trucking business, and I started teaching that to owner operators, even though I had never owned a truck, never had a CDL to this day, never drove a truck. You do not want to put me in a cab of a truck, trust me, right? But I know how to run a trucking business, right? So you just got to do your research and then start offering that value. And by doing that, you're going to attract leads. And then they're going to want to get on a sales call with you because you're speaking about something interesting. And then they're going to want to sign up for your dispatch business. And this is what is going to allow you to make money. But that's all I have for this evening. If you want to learn how to implement everything I talked about without having to play the guessing games, and I can tell you exactly what to do step by step, it's proven and it's guaranteed to work, because we got people in the Dispatcher Bootcamp right now that it has worked for them. If you're looking for that information and you want to work with me and also members of the Dispatcher Bootcamp, make sure you click the link in the description of this video to sign up for that bootcamp program. You won't only be working with me, you'll be working with members that already been where you're at, and that's what leads you to success so fast. But I thank you all for being here. Reach out to me.